Simultaneous Vietnamese interpretation is being provided for this meeting using the language interpretation function within Zoom. We ask that you please be patient in case of any technical issues. Language interpretation will not be enabled until instructions on how to access interpretation services have been translated. Once interpretation has been enabled, a globe icon will appear on the bottom of your Zoom screen. Also, as an important reminder to all who are presenting and commenting today, we ask that you please speak slowly for the interpreter. If you're speaking too fast, I may interrupt you so that the interpreter can catch up with your information. So thank you. To enable interpretation for Vietnamese, please click on the globe icon on the bottom of your screen now and select the language you wish to listen to. You must also mute original audio. So we have Carolina, who will you now please interpret the instructions that I gave into Vietnamese?
Xin chào quý vị, phiên dịch trực tuyến bằng tiếng Việt sẽ được cung cấp cho cuộc họp này bằng chức năng phiên dịch ngôn ngữ trong Zoom. Chúng tôi mong quý vị hãy kiên nhẫn trong trường hợp có bất kỳ sự cố kỹ thuật nào, phiên dịch sẽ không được tiếp nối cho đến khi mọi hướng dẫn về cách truy cập được dịch xong. Sau khi phiên dịch được kết nối, biểu tượng quả địa cầu sẽ xuất hiện ở cuối màn hình Zoom của quý vị. Ngoài ra, xin nhắc lại một điều quan trọng với tất cả những ai đang thuyết trình và bình luận ngày hôm nay. Chúng tôi sẽ yêu cầu quý vị vui lòng nói chậm để phiên dịch viên có thể nắm bắt thông tin một cách rõ ràng. Nếu quý vị nói quá nhanh, tôi có thể sẽ ngắt lời để phiên dịch viên có thời gian dịch thuật. Xin cảm ơn. Để bật tính năng phiên dịch tiếng Việt, xin vui lòng hãy nhấp vào biểu tượng quả địa cầu ở dưới màn hình và chọn ngôn ngữ muốn nghe. Đồng thời bạn phải tắt cái âm thanh gốc của mình trong màn hình nhé.
Okay.
Good evening.
Wait, no, hold on. hold on. I'm just trying to. Ani, will you now please turn on and activate the interpretation? And we're just going to wait a second and for people to join. Getting that activated. So you can, yeah, are we all set? Okay. Okay, we'll double check as we keep going. So, all right. So if you're having any difficulty activating the interpretation, please call the phone number on the screen. If you have difficulties with the translation later in the meeting, please call that same number. We have interpreters available to assist you over the phone. The project presentation has also been translated into Vietnamese and is available on the BPDA website at bostonplans.org/about-us/BPDA-board/meetings. Please take note of the website address on the screen to view the translated project presentation. This is a public hearing before the Boston Redevelopment Authority, doing business as the Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with sections 80A-2 and 80C-5 of the Boston Zoning Code, to consider the proposed development plan for Plan Development Area Number 146, 75 Morrissey Boulevard, within the approved Master Plan for Plan Development Area Number 146, 35 through 75 Morrissey Boulevard, Dorchester. This hearing was duly advertised on August 1st, 2025 in the Boston Herald. This is a BPDA hearing on a proposed petition by the agency. Staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the agency. Thereafter, anyone who wishes to testify about the proposed project will be afforded an opportunity. We are taking support and opposition at the same time. If you're planning to testify via Zoom, please take time now and verify that your computer microphone is active and click on the hand icon on your Zoom control panel. This will signal to the staff that you would like to speak. When your hand is raised, it will be blue. If you're calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. When I call for all testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to talk. You must unmute your microphone and your webcam will not be active. If you're planning to testify in person in the boardroom, we ask that you please line up behind the podium after the presentation has concluded and we'll call on you. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. Finally, the proponents are allowed a period of 5 to 10 minutes for rebuttal if they so desire. Nick, you may now please begin the presentation.
Thank you, and good evening, Chair Rojas, members of the board, Secretary Polhimas, and Director Shen. I'm here before you to present the first phase of the master plan for Plan Development Area number 146, 35 to 75 Morrissey Boulevard, also known as Columbia Point Crossing. This first phase is called 75 Morrissey. The first phase of the project is consistent with the master plan and requires no amendments to the PDA. To the master PDA. Located in Dorchester on Morrissey Boulevard, the project site encompasses approximately 9 acres of land that is currently occupied by a variety of commercial buildings, including a supermarket and the record company. The first phase of the plan will build 2 new residential buildings with ground floor retail and civic uses, a community park, and several new roads. The 2 residential buildings will contain 754 units, a mix of studios through 3-bedroom units, with 20% of the units, or 154 units, designated as affordable at 70% AMI. The first phase of the project will also bring a number of important contributions to the neighborhood, including a contribution of approximately $600,000 to the Parks Department for upkeep and maintenance of Moakley Park, and approximately 7,450 square feet of ground floor community use that will be programmed in collaboration with the city, new Blue Bike accommodations, as well as a contribution of $209,755 to the Blue Bikes program. I'll now turn to Ella Wise to take you through the planning context before the development team leads you through the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. My name is Ella. Good evening, Chair Rojas, members of the board, Secretary Polhimas, and Director Shen. I'm covering for my colleague Yair this evening. So the project, as Nick mentioned, is in Dorchester, just south of the JFK station, Morrissey Boulevard to the east, 93 to the west. In terms of the planning context, you can see here is an aerial, and on the right is an image from the Columbia Point Master Plan, which was adopted in 2011, and really established the transportation open space framework for what we wanted, the community wanted to see here. So namely, as the red arrow illustrates here, breaking up the existing large building footprints and large surface parking areas to establish more walkable green street grid. Next slide, please. So about 10 years after that, the vision was further refined with the adoption of a PDA zoning overlay district. This built on that framework, again, and further refined it and codified dimensions and also uses. So it allowed for a variety of uses, mixed uses, including research development and residential. This project is pursuing residential in this first phase. As Nick mentioned, the project is consistent with that PDA zoning overlay district and delivers on the vision established in the plan with a new roadway interior to the development, a roadway that's connecting to Morrissey Boulevard, and significant new open space. With that, I'll turn it to the proponent. Thank you.
Thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Chair Rojas, Madam Secretary, Chief Shen, and members of the board for inviting us here this evening, and would like to thank members of the public, both who are in the room and joining virtually, for taking time out of your personal schedules to join the meeting this evening. As the team alluded to, this is a residential-centric project, residential-centric mixed-use project located very proximate to the JFK UMass Red Line Transit node. It has been an incredible kind of effort of partnership between the development team, our design and engineering team, the planning department, various city and neighborhood stakeholders to really conceive a project here which is well aligned, I think, with a lot of the goals that many of us share, which is to generate more attainably priced housing, transit-oriented housing inside city limits and inside the city of Boston. Our hope, particularly given the transit node at the JFK UMass Red Line stop, is that it will allow many who are currently unable to live within city limits and face long commutes and other hardships to live at a transit node, which can get you, whether you work at Mass General, whether you work, somewhere proximate to South Station, Cambridge, anywhere in between. Also, I really need to thank Brian Doherty, Joe Byrne, and most importantly, the members of the trades who have been very active in this process and have been huge supporters. This will be a full union project. And importantly, so many of the union halls are located right in the radius of this project, and it's something that we've heard in a very acute way from many members of the trades, their challenges in terms of attaining housing close to their job sites and city limits. Additionally, I'd like to thank Councilor Fitzgerald, President of the City Council as well, who has been a great advocate, both of them, throughout this process. And a lot of everybody, Nick, Zoe, Nupur, Seth, Ted, and we're very grateful, and support from the administration in terms of aligning with the principles about housing, transit-oriented housing, attainable housing, and really kind of optimization of what is an underutilized site, which, while Morrissey Boulevard has, these 3 parcels on Morrissey Boulevard have a storied history, 75 Morrissey Boulevard has been kind of vacant and fallow for many years now. And so that we hope this can bring a degree of activation, a degree of housing, a degree of community benefits, and also be a key piece of connective tissue in really continuing to stitch together the corridor. Really it started with the old Globe building. This will be another big piece in that puzzle, and in that mosaic, and kind of, which will continue all the way down to the Red Line station. And again, with Columbia Savin Hill, particularly Don Walsh, Bill Walzak, other leadership and members of the Civic Association, they've been great partners. They've certainly held us accountable, as has the planning department, as has various other stakeholders, particularly the Civic Association. But we've developed, I think, a lot of trust and mutual respect throughout the process, and that will continue, as there's certainly a lot of coordination to do as we hopefully mobilize and get in the field in the near future. So thank you again for having me here this evening, and happy to answer any questions now or after. I'm going to turn it over to Phil Casey with our design team.
Great, thanks, Andrew, and good evening, everybody. Do I have the clicker here? I'm sorry, or for advancing slides? Oh, okay. Next slide, please. Sorry. So we'll start out with an overview of the site and aerial here, just to orient everybody. So the site's shown in blue in the center of the slide there. It's at the western end of the previously approved PDA master plan, bounded on the south by Morrissey Boulevard, to the north by I-93, to the west by the previously completed South Line project, obviously the remaining parcels to the east of the master plan, and then that key adjacency to the JFK Red Line stop that we're focusing on. Next slide, please. And so zooming into the site a little bit, just talking about transit orientation that Andrew was talking about. The site's divided, again, into 2 multifamily sites, A and B, that surround an almost 24,000 square feet community park that really invites the community in, and we think facilitates a much broader pedestrian network between transit and the site. You can see here the blue lines from JFK down Morrissey Boulevard through the future master plan to our open space, and then actually to the South Line courtyard, as well as their public spaces, through to Savin Hill and the Savin Hill Red Line. So really facilitating a much greater opportunity, we think, for transit connectivity here from a pedestrian perspective. Next slide, please. And then finally, just zooming in on the site, again, this is the first phase in that approved PDA master plan. And to note here, you'll notice that A Street, which is perpendicular to Morrissey Boulevard, is also part of the project. The infrastructure, the streetscape that comes with it, that will be the new approach for these 2 projects, kind of an exciting opportunity to kind of rethink the approach from Morrissey. Next slide, please. And then just a few photographs of the existing site. I think we're all familiar. As Andrew mentioned, a vacant and underutilized site. So just an incredible opportunity to really revitalize this stretch of Morrissey Boulevard with public open space, as well as bringing multifamily housing to the site. Next slide, please. And then the project itself, comprised of 2 high-rise multifamily buildings, Building A and Building B there. The total unit count between both buildings is 754 units. That'll be a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms throughout both projects. 4,500 square feet of ground floor retail between both projects. Similarly, over 7,000 square feet of civic space on the ground floor, and then parking, below-grade parking under both buildings for a total of 414 parking spaces. And then on the slide on the right, you start to see the building forms taking their cues from their direct adjacencies, really. Building B in the foreground with that very rectilinear form, really holding that street wall and that strong alignment on Morrissey Boulevard. And Building A with its curvilinear form, really starting to reflect that broad sweep of I-93 as part of the building form. Next slide, please. And then we go to the ground plan and our landscape plan, and really you start to understand the sort of significant role the Central Community Park plays in this project. As we talk about it, it's really designed as a variety of hardscape, open space, and green spaces, really to essentially accommodate a number of public uses, whether it's passive recreation, small performances, gathering, meeting for the community, et cetera, quiet, contemplative spaces, a real range of uses throughout the design. And then similarly, the ground floors of both buildings, as you can see, are lined with very active uses on the community park. In red, you'll see amenity spaces, active amenity spaces that'll interact with it. On Building B to the right, the green space is the designated community space, so that has an indoor-outdoor relationship to engage with that community space in a really positive way. You'll note the residential building lobbies, it's tough to read there in the gray, but they're on the corner of A Street and the community park. So they have sightline and visibility to both the park and A Street, and really bringing that 24/7 activation and foot traffic that multifamily brings. So that's exciting as sort of a gateway to the public space. Similarly, there's civic space on the plan on the left in Building A and some retail with its own discrete loading and entry. And then on the right-hand side, Building B's ground floor, we line Morrissey Boulevard with retail storefronts all along that and turn the corner on A Street to sort of invite the public in that way. Next slide, please. And then a view from Morrissey Boulevard and A Street of the project. In the foreground, you see Building B. Really, that tower form is landing on a 3-story podium that you see can really front Morrissey Street, really taking the scale of the tower down to that pedestrian street front scale. You can see in the rendering the very active storefronts at the ground floor along that podium, turning the corner on A Street, again, activating Morrissey Boulevard, inviting the public in. The tower itself is a mix of materials, curtain wall, precast and metal panel with a staggered panel expression right now, reflecting sort of the movement along Morrissey and really creating kind of a signature identity opportunity for the project. Similarly, Building A behind it, a similar mix of materials for what we're looking at as a similar architectural language, but a much more horizontal expression to give it its own definition and its own sort of component to that, whether it's sort of a brother-sister architectural relationship, but giving it its own identity. You can also see in the rendering in Building A, the very prominent building entry on both that and Building B, again, drawing folks in that sight line and then bringing them into the community park between the two buildings. Next slide, please. And here's a view of the community park from A Street, really what we call this gateway plaza, the idea of welcoming the community in, inviting them in. You can see there's a series of hardscape, greenscape, different seating elements, again, for different groupings, really to make the community want to come in and occupy that space. Obviously, the residential lobby to the right, very prominent, that 24/7 foot traffic that lobby is going to be bringing on both sides. And then even to the left, you can see on Building B, we have a sight line to the community space, so it's not really tucked away. The idea of that opportunity for that program to draw the public through the community park and really engage with the open space that way too. Next slide, please. And then another view of the community park, this one looking back towards Building B. You can see that ground floor is really the civic space. Again, we're viewing that as an indoor-outdoor space, again, engaging that community park and the spaces right adjacent to it. But this is a good view to get a sense of the different kind of spaces that the landscape design provides for. There's open green space for recreation, there's areas for small performances, and again, different areas to gather, meet, and sit for the community. As well, that pedestrian path on the right, you'll see, continues on to the South Line project and that public courtyard there. So creating that broader urban pedestrian link that we were talking about earlier. Next slide, please. And then finally, a view from the highway. In the foreground is Building A, the very bold curvilinear form, again reflecting that sweep in the highway. There's that more sort of horizontal architectural expression that really reinforces that form, and we feel it kind of gives the project as a whole kind of a signature identity from the highway and the vehicular perspective. So I think that's it for our design presentation. We're happy to take comments and questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Since this is a public hearing, we will go through public comments and testimony first. So if you're in the room and would like to testify, please approach the podium, and then we'll get online queued up. So, anyone?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Chen, and Madam Secretary. My name is Minor Perez. I'm the Executive Director for the Carpenters Labor Management. On behalf of thousands of my union sisters and brothers from the Carpenters Union, I want to go in support of this project, as well as hundreds of our contractors, subcontractors, and general contractors that we do business with. I first like to thank Mayor Michelle Wu for allowing the community to be part of the process. It's nice that we can come up and speak on these projects, as well as through the process. The developer did a great job listening to the suggestions for the community. And thank you for hanging in there. It was a long and arduous process, and you did accommodate most of the needs of the community. Because of that and many other reasons, we're in strong support of this project. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Great. Anyone else in the room? Do we have anyone online?
Shaitan Green, you can unmute yourself.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Shaitan Green. I'm a lifelong Boston resident, also the business agent with the Boston Building Trades Unions. We represent over 35,000 members, which tens of thousands who live and work right here in the city. We also represent their families as well. I want to be on the record in supporting this project and Copper Mill Development, who has expressed a commitment to working with the building trades, having an all-union project. I'm very thankful for good development and developers like Copper Mill, whose values align with our community. We know and understand that a good project is one that not only uplifts community and worker standards, but advances community and worker standards. All things key and crucial to building strong families who can look forward to growing with this city and not left out. Families who can rely and enjoy high quality built housing alongside our community relying on great careers that come with those opportunities. With safety top of mind and training through registered apprenticeship programs. Every worker deserves family sustaining wages, healthcare benefits, and retirement benefits. Economic justice is allowing the community to build and be included in that growth, and that's exactly what this project is set out for. So we support this project. We're very thankful for it, and very excited to be a part of it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Shaitan. Is there anybody else who would like to testify about this project, either in the room or online? This concludes the public hearing portion of this item.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the presentation, and it certainly is very appealing looking. I love the community garden. You know, not only is it something I'm sure the residents are going to like and the neighbors are going to like, but as we all know, Morrissey Boulevard has had incredible flooding, so having more pervious pavement is you know, going to serve a added purpose. I'll ask that in lieu of our colleague Kate Bennett, something that she would likely ask. Appreciate the commitment to affordability. How many of the 3 bedrooms are going to be at the affordable level?
20% of them will be affordable. Mark.
20% of all units.
20% of all units.
And you've got units from studio up to 3 bedrooms.
Studio, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms,
Yeah.
3 bedrooms.
So I'm just
And
curious how many
the
3
ratio
bedrooms?
is proportionate across each unit type.
Oh, that's fantastic. So 20. Oh, okay. That's a good answer.
We could
Thank
follow
you.
up with the precise number.
Okay, that makes sense. And then I was having a little difficulty sort of figuring out the community civic space, the 7,500 square feet. What do you exactly mean by, is that like a lobby that residents could use to get, can you explain a little bit more what that means?
Sure, absolutely. So it's bona fide, standalone civic space. It's going to walk and talk and, fit in a line with the rest of the retail along the building. Ultimately, a occupant of that space has not been identified yet. That's something we look forward to working closely with the city and the neighborhood to identify prospective occupants there. But it is not kind of double counting lobby space or other things. It's bona fide, set aside.
So this will be I was thinking it was gonna be a community room that then residents could use, but this would be like a daycare or like a post office? Is that what you mean by a civic space?
Again, I don't want to be overly prescriptive because I think that, the master plan was intentionally, I don't want to say vague, but, open-minded to that. And so I think we're going to seek further direction from the planning department in the neighborhood. I think ultimately it would be a long-term tenant. Again, I don't want to exclude or include any
I'm not trying to
uses,
put you
but-
on the spot, I'm just trying to sort of understand.
So I
So this
think
would be a
it's-
tenant whose purpose would be to serve what?
Well, I think to clarify, I do not think it is anticipated that it'll be a private tenant. It likely will be, again, I don't want to suggest, but a user who lives and breathes in that space as a permanent tenant, likely with a nonprofit structure.
Okay.
Okay, so I think I understand that, so okay, I appreciate that, thank you for that clarification. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Additional questions, yeah, comments?
Yes, through the chair. If all is to go well with the city process, do you have a timeline of shovels being in the ground for this project?
Sure, absolutely. As we have done throughout this process, and as, you have my personal commitment, we will continue to do. We always want to move forward in a deliberate and measured fashion. And obviously, depending on the outcome of this meeting tonight, that will kind of further direct us in one direction or another. That being said, there's still work to do, careful coordination on the ground in the field prior to any demo commencement. But at the same time, we understand that, the trades are hungry for work and that housing is a very acute need in the city. And so we're prepared to proceed in a responsible but expeditious manner. And our hope would be that we are maybe doing light mobilization towards the end of this calendar year in terms of initial site work, demo prep, and, bona fide mobilization in the first quarter of next year,
Oh, great to hear.
if everything goes well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Speaking and touched on a little bit from a resiliency standpoint, always, I say it makes me nervous, but always want to know, for parcels so close to our natural resources and infrastructure, right? Can you talk a little bit about kind of how you thought and planned for an incorporated resiliency and sustainability and, again, protection of the significant investment that's going to go into this and, the future homes of many people?
Sure, absolutely. And, it may be with a caveat that it's from a civilian, certainly Phil and others.
I'm a civilian.
But we were, trust me, I've been deep in it, and it's, resiliency and sustainability has been a huge part of this process and of this design and engineering. I can tell you as a graduate of BC High across the street, 4 years that changed my life, but I drove through water puddles for many, many years. And so certainly we are acutely aware from experience in the field of the challenges, present challenges, which are only, while there's a lot of good work going on to kind of address some of those in the near term, long term, those headwinds are only going to get worse. And so I think, we've worked very closely with various agencies and departments at the city and at the state level through the MEPA process to ensure, that there's statutory elements that we are that we are complying with, including basically the grade for, ground floor 0 is going to be 5 feet above the existing Morrissey Boulevard. And however, we have designed the landscape and the hardscape in a way that will not be, obvious to the average pedestrian walking by. It won't be this sheer, grade change. It'll be gradual through a variety of different methods. And then to roll that forward even more, there is a plan, or the design calls for to the extent the seawater rise, which we all know it will, really exacerbates in the future, whether that's 20 years, 50 years, 100 years. There's a way that the building has been designed that you basically could recalibrate the ground floor so that it's at an even higher level. And so there's a lot of credit to our design and engineering team and the city and the administration who has pushed us hard on that. But we're pleased to say that we're in full compliance with all resiliency and sustainability measures. And we hope that in connection with a lot of the other work being coordinated in that area, some of which is not our scope, but we hope we can have a positive impact on the resiliency ecosystem there, because we know there's challenges today and more challenges to come.
Great. And then let's talk about affordability also, on behalf of Kate, but all of us. The favorite part of my memo now to see these days after working on it so many years ago, the and I can never say it, affirmatively furthering fair housing. Can you talk a little bit about your experiences with that checklist, with that process, and kind of just kind of highlight some of the interesting ways that you went about using that as a tool to inform affordability and.
Sure, absolutely. And I think, again, there's probably macro elements to that and then micro-specific elements, but again, it'll be 750 units, 20% affordable at 70% AMI, so that's 150 bona fide income-restricted units, which, of course, are spread all throughout the building and pro rata, proportional across all unit types. So again, starting big picture and getting a little more specific, as we think about, I think one of our key objectives in alignment with Mayor Wu and her administration and, so many of the folks in this building who have helped, drive this project forward with us is trying to remove barriers to entry for folks to live in the city. Yeah. And I know we referenced it a bit earlier, but I think, it's a multivariable dynamic where there's people who are getting displaced out of the city. There's great knowledge centers in this city, but that brain drain and the lack of housing is driving people to other cities elsewhere in the country. And so we really, particularly given the transit orientation here, we really hope that it can be something that, removes those frictional costs to move into, so you don't need to have a car. You don't have to, your weekly, monthly compensation doesn't have to be able to afford $500 a month in parking and gas and all of that. In addition, a lot of the amenities and other services on site will be quality of life elements that really should attract and retain more folks in the city. And again, given all the different work nodes, whether it's in, Longwood, downtown, Beacon Hill, as we all know, the Red Line brings access to so many. So we really viewed it as how can we remove some of those barriers to entry, and we think it starts by transit-oriented and in a variety of unit types so that it can be everybody from, not that it's age-driven, but everybody from single occupants to double occupants to families. And something we've worked closely with the Civic Association on is that real displacement dynamic for those who want to age in place. And there's a lot of folks across the city, across the state, and across this neighborhood who have been there for 40, 50 years, and they want to stay in the neighborhood that they love and know, but there's so many limited options, not only from an affordability standpoint, but also from an accessibility standpoint.
Yeah.
A lot of the existing housing stock, as we all know, is the vintage of it is nearly 100 years old, not exactly ADA accessible, let alone trying to shovel your driveway and mow your own lawn. So we hope that across the entire demographic spectrum, whether it's entry-level employees, whether it's folks who want to age in place, and kind of everybody in between who works all throughout the city, and even those who may work in Cambridge, we would love to have them as Boston residents and, continue to drive that residency base here in Boston. And so, we don't hold it against them if they're going to live on Morrissey Boulevard but work in Davis Square or Kendall Square. So, we think there's a lot of derivative layers there, which will make it, again, remove those barriers and hopefully widen the pool of folks who want to live here, can live here, and it's convenient for them to live here. And then at the micro level, which we've as you referenced in the memo, there's some initial, certainly ideas and concepts. Some of the ones we think are really effective are very low security deposits, if any, because again, trying to remove those barriers to entry, even if it's a unit that maybe can work, coming up with that first month, last month, all at once, that's something that really can be prohibitive for access to housing. And so that's something that I know we've committed to, on the record to date. Additionally, we certainly plan, and again, there's, we got some ways to go before we're leasing the units, but I think something that we've already talked to the trades about is, we've been in every union hall already in the past 6 months and many times in previous years, but is kind of housing fairs in each of the union halls, and certainly working with Age-Friendly Boston to try to understand what resources we can combine to really enhance their impact, for the aging in place demographic, which is acute today, but the demand and quantity needed there is even going to get larger. So I'll pause there, but that's kind of the lens through which we've been thinking about. We hope, and we're going to need more input and more help, and as we get closer to actually rolling that out. But we're very grateful to everyone in this building who's helped us so far in that.
Yeah, no, great.
Chair Rojas.
Please, yeah.
I just want to step in and mention really quickly while we're on the topic of affordable housing, how committed this group has been to affordable housing throughout this project. When this project came to us at the master plan level, this was under the IDP policy, and they committed to 20% affordability at that time. That's still a very good number for us for any project these days, even under the current policies. So it's just really important to note that these guys have really made a big effort on the affordable housing front. Thank you.
Thank you. No, it came through in the memo, and I do like the macro, but the micro, right, of like really identifying what are those barriers of entry, and like that, like you need whatever $10,000 just to put down a security glass and all, like that's just a lot, So I just appreciate the creativity around that, of looking at root causes, taking a barriers to entry like approach to it, and but
Thank you, Chair.
thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments?
Well, just a comment. You've provided some very thoughtful and progressive answers to our questions. This is a progressive project. It's a good one.
Appreciate the kind words.
All right, if there are no other further questions or comments, motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Good luck. Be proud. This is a good
Thank
one.
you. We look forward to inviting you for our hard hat tour. Thank you to the entire board and Chief Shen.
Yeah, appreciate it. Okay, so that was the last agenda item. The final director's update. Director Shen, Chief Shen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam.
Wait, we did do contractual. We did it before the break? Yeah, we paid them bills.
Do you have to close the public hearing part portion?
No,
Okay.
no, we just wait for people to clear the room.
So, members of the board, thank you for concluding another successful board meeting. I want to provide a summary of the approvals.
Oh, yeah, we're just gonna close, we're just gonna close it. We're just gonna close
I
it.
want to start by providing a summary of the approvals that were taken tonight. There were 3 new development projects that delivered a total of 820 new residential units, of which 163 of them will be income restricted. The development cost of these projects will amount to about $480 million and deliver more than 920,000 square feet, of which more than 2/3 of it, 675,000 square feet, will be residential. When constructed, these projects will put approximately 800 tradespeople to work and create in the buildings themselves 61 direct jobs, leading to an additional 400 indirect jobs. Another area that we've started to focus on, even though that there weren't any presentations, of course, are the certificate of completions that actually the board voted to approve. I want to highlight some of these completions approved tonight and the associated public benefits. The first is a 109 Brookline Avenue project. It contributed $1.2 million to support the Fenway Transportation Action Plan, which is a city conducted transportation plan. $75,000 to the Transportation Department in support of the bike share system for the Fenway area. $1.8 million in the linkage funding towards affordable housing, and about $330,000 in linkage funding towards job training. The most notable in this proponent's public benefits is that they doubled their original commitment to support the fit-out of the lab training and community space in the building from originally $250,000 to $590,000. The second project that I want to highlight is the Kenmore Square redevelopment project, and that's the one that actually is in Kenmore Square that actually also includes the preservation of the Citgo sign on top of the building. That project provided $290-some thousand to support local workforce development initiatives, $75,000 to the Emerald Necklace Conservancy to be used for the design of the new nearby Charlesgate Park under the Bowker Overpass, and then also contributions to enhance the expanded sidewalks along Deerfield Street and Beacon Street, as well as some new bike lanes. Finally, the project I want to finally highlight is 350 Boylston Street project. Many of you will remember that as the site of the old Shreve Camp and Low building. That project is now complete and I believe will be the new headquarters for Bain Consulting, and it will contribute $1.1 million of linkage funding towards affordable housing. It will contribute $215,000 in linkage funding towards job training, $25,000 to support neighborhood improvements, which went towards some new planters and beautification in the vicinity of the project, and then $25,000 to the Women's Lunch Place. And actually, the most significant monetary contribution is $221,000 to the Arlington Street Church, which is on the other side of Boylston Street. I want to acknowledge these projects for delivering these important community benefits and to thank the community who supported these projects and also advocated for these very specific community benefits that will actually be to the benefit of the residents of these communities. The final thing I want to conclude with is actually to highlight the Neighborhood Development Fund allocation that was approved by you. The board approved the disbursement of the Neighborhood Development Funds in order to support the new Commercial Acquisition Assistance Program. The shorthand of that is CAP, C-A-A-P, that is being managed through the Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion. The fund will support a broad range of community development initiatives, but most important, this CAP program has been launched to address the displacement of small businesses by building equitable or funding equitable pathways to commercial real estate ownership. The fund and program will offer targeted financial assistance and wraparound technical support to small business owners seeking to acquire commercial property and preserve cultural and commercial anchors in Boston's communities. This particular endeavor is part of the larger anti-displacement initiative that this department, as well as the rest of the city, have launched, and we're very happy to support this endeavor to align with the mayor's priority for making sure that our communities we minimize displacement, both commercial and residential displacement in our communities as we promote development and also promote changes in the zoning code. So I want to conclude tonight and thank you again for your service and wish you a continued happy summer time and enjoy the good weather. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that's it. And I need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call for a vote. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Dr. Lansmark?
Aye.
Mr. O'Malley?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Nice job.